It is the sixth model introduced in the 2025 Gurren Lagann collaboration with Meteorot S, sporting the likeness of the iconic Razen-Oh in the series. This is TGL06 Razen-Oh, with a kit of hard pile, slow hammer, power pile, biped legs, and the leg ability of high fly, which buffs all leg stats minus armor and heavy limit, but in trade takes 2.5 times more damage from gravity attribute skills. Now, no Gurren Lagann collaboration is complete without featuring one of the first major antagonists of the series, the Razen-Oh itself, and basically serving as a complete counter to the Gurren Lagann in every way and form, even using the sleeker drill-type attachments on its arm, in contrast to Gurren Lagann's Super Giga Drill that it's been most known for. Hard pile on the head part, and the second time we've actually seen this skill introduced. The first time, being on the Unicorn Dendo collaboration fairly recently, is a melee attribute skill that has a lot of very high power output going for it. The first of which is that it is a basic piercing attack, so it has piercing natively built in, but it also gets a damage plus relative to the combined sum of the user's combined leg resist stats. So both their melee and their shoot resist are added to base power point blank when attacking. And as if that wasn't enough, hard pile also ignores defense, which means that enemy trying to use its sheer bulk against you, well, guess what? As far as Razen-Oh is concerned, hard pile has no damage reduction because it shreds right through everything, making it extremely powerful in any right on its own. And with a fairly high heating and cooling of mid 600s to low 700s, and a high power of almost 1300 before modifiers, this is already starting Razen-Oh off on an extremely powerful start. Slow hammer on the right arm, and the second time we've also seen this skill introduced, also introduced in the previous Dendo collaboration, is a melee attribute skill that applies a brand new ailment to the game, or fairly new I could call it, called slow. And as its name implies, upon successfully inflicting the enemy with slow, it debuffs their heating and cooling by 50% as long as the affliction remains active. So this is going to be extremely useful for any enemies that are trying to use speed against you or able to successfully outrun you. This will be a good way to kind of lower them down just a little bit and make it a little easier to manage. On top of that, slow hammer as a hammer type attack also is capable of an AoE type of attribute, which means that it will damage all parts of the target and spread the damage across all healthy parts, or all active parts I should say. This also makes it extremely useful for for flushing out enemy leaders with Silent Leader. So instead of having to damage multiple things at once, one whack of slow hammer, and on top of already slowing them down pretty noticeably, gives you a guaranteed shot over confirming if they're the leader or not. Power pile on the left arm, and the only brand new skill that Razen-Oh is introducing to the game, is basically just pile but with some more added bonuses. In this case, power pile is already the basic defense ignoring piercing attack that pile always was, but you get a times 1.5 damage bonus as long as the user's legs remain intact. So it already is fairly self-explanatory as to what to expect from power pile. But with a base power of over 1700, even if it doesn't have that damage bonus, should you use it without legs or if the legs are broken, it's still going to be fairly powerful on its own, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And with fairly solid heating and cooling in the low to mid 600s means he can use this very easily without anything really getting in his way. Biped legs means that Razen-Oh will have fairly good coverage on all terrains as well, with good terrain compatibility at that. And the leg stats, I do need to clarify, these are the base stats before high fly kicks in, because that high fly bonus is about 30 to 32% of what you're looking at here. But looking at the base stats specifically, a mobility of 874 is really nice, as this means he will have a fairly good start in the speed department before anything else comes into play. Meta Rotter bonuses, terrain bonuses, or anything else of the like. An evade of 12-13 also is nice, as he can dodge or graze fairly decently as he sees the need to, and if he's not hit with a no dodge or no defend penalty. A melee resist of 1876 is very impressive though, as this means he can definitely hold his own when trying to take hits up close and personal. But a shoot resist of 954 might possibly be a weakness of his, as this does mean that he will have a notably higher weakness to anything trying to take pot shots and keep a distance from him. But again, this is before High Fly kicks in, which is going to really amp up those numbers even more so, and ultimately feed back into Hard Pile in the combined sum of what the resist stats require to really crank out those big damages. In the armor department, Razen-Oh is also fairly bulky as well, with a head armor of 4679, right arm of 4079, left arm of 4379, and legs at just barely 4500 means that Razen-Oh is able to keep his damage reduction up very solidly, but also have some very good numbers to make sure nothing gets broken too quickly. Ultimately, the biggest weakness though is the fact that High Fly does give him increased damage to gravity attribute skills, and given that he already has 2 equipped, means it's going to be extremely painful on him if anything comes after him in that respect. All this being said though, as a pure set score, I very easily have to rate Razen-Oh a very well-rounded 7.5 out of 10. Compared to most other models of the collaboration thus far, Razen-Oh is probably the only model that you can use right out of the box with no setup or pre-build required in order to use him. Hard Pile you can use basically from turn 1 because you'll already be having High Fly kick in from the moment the fight begins, and that's already going to be extremely painful no matter what. Plus, again, Slow Hammer and Power Pile you can also use in the same manner. So he's extremely user-friendly, requires almost no setup like I said, so you can use him very quickly and very easily right from turn 1 without anything really getting in his way. The biggest weakness though, like I said, is the fact of High Fly's increased damage from gravity skills. So given the fact he already has 2 equipped, means that anything in press, break hammer, break rush, wide break, anything with a gravity attribute skill is absolutely going to cripple him, no matter how high he stacks those defenses with High Fly. As mixed parts though, I do have to rate him just a little bit higher at an 8 out of 10 though for these reasons. High Fly is honestly a leg ability you can use just about anywhere, regardless of if you choose to maximize those heavy slots or not. And you can use Hard Pile, Slow Hammer, or Power Pile just about anywhere, and like I said, because they do not require any outside setup or assistance to use, bar the combined resist condition with Hard Pile, you can use them basically anywhere. So there's no real condition, there's no funny gimmick that's required to use Razen-Oh. You can use him right out of the box and drop him right into battle and expect a top performance every time he comes to fight.